Welcome to Northern Lights. I'm Dwain, and today I'm joined by a special guest, Ronin Walker. How you doing, Ronin?
Yeah, I'm going well. How are you going?
Yeah, really, really good. So, if you can just introduce yourself, where your wrestling promotion is, and things like that, that'd be great.
So, my name is Ronan Walker. I am an Australian wrestler that wrestles at APW Melbourne, which is Adrenaline Pro Wrestling. They're actually currently doing a show at the moment, but yeah, and I also do Twitch. I stream games and do that as well, but primary my goal is wrestling, so I'm a wrestler.
Okay, well, that's great. You'll be able to find all of that in the comments down below. So I find it's really interesting that you've got into wrestling because so many fans dream of being wrestlers, right? We all sat there, we're watching, The Rock, Goldberg, Hulk Hogan, you think, I want to do that. So, sort of, how did you get into that in the first place?
The first time that that I ended up watching wrestling, I was meant to be asleep, and I think it was in the Attitude Era. It had Stephanie McMahon promoing about something, and I was kind of like hiding myself from under a blanket while my parents and my brothers were kind of watching TV, and I was
Yeah.
watching, and I'm just like, this is fascinating. Then I ended up starting watching it regularly, and I just fell in love with it from there.
Okay,
It
brilliant.
was
And what sort
awesome.
of wrestlers inspired you? Because my favorites are like Goldberg when I was a kid and things like that, and Jeff Hardy. Like when I was a kid, I used to get my mum's tights and put them over my arms and pretend to be Jeff Hardy, and stupid stuff like that. So, like, what sort of wrestlers inspired you for your character now?
So for my character now, so the inspiration came from Elias because I play guitar, and I enter with a guitar, so that's my inspiration. But before that, with character work and all that stuff, I would be like my inspiration, my favorite wrestler being Jeff Hardy, but my inspiration for my character before was Raven from ECW or WWE style, where he had the kilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting that you wear the kilt because I thought it might have been like a Scottish connection or something like that, but it's quite a unique sort of gimmick, isn't it? The sort of that kilt, it gives you a very unique and interesting look. Is that important to you as a wrestler to have that unique look? Like, look at me, I'm different to everyone else. Does it bring that sort of bring eyes to you as a wrestler?
Yeah, actually it does. You would like to stand out, whether it is through mic skills or your actual ability in wrestling, your attire. It really is a hard one to grasp at the start, because you're always thinking, oh, I could use this or I could do that. Like for me, I was like, oh, I got an inspiration. I think I could use that uh, as part of my gear, since like the kilt. I was like, oh, maybe I could do that. I ended up firstly having like a a shirt with like a collar in it and everything like that, just to kind of like look different. And people tend to like that. And then I changed it up a little bit, and then I'm like, now I'm in kind of like street clothes.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting look, I just hope you're not going to turn into Ezekiel instead and keep that sort of Elias gimmick alive. So
No, definitely not.
no, brilliant. So how do you sort of go about training to be a wrestler? That's always wondered. Like, where do you find these kind of things? Like, where do you learn all the moves? How do you learn all the structure? How does that all work?
So when I got my first spot to do training at where I am, where I do it now, which is Adrenaline Pro Wrestling Academy, which is APW Academy. The trainer, Jason Crash, he taught me a lot of what I know. He taught me how to do the bumps and rolls and the moves and all that. There's also a couple of others that came came into there, where whether it was Zane Zodiac, it was also uh, Jason the Crush Cole, which is a few other people that are in like Melbourne based. But yeah, those guys has helped me to deliver the moves that I do now.
And sort of what advice do you have for someone who's trying to get into wrestling? Said, right, if I said to you today, look, Ronin, I want to be a wrestler. What's your advice? How do you tell someone to get into it?
I would tell them to think long and hard to make sure that they really want to do this. If they do want to do it, I would show them where to go to particular companies or to training facilities to actually help them to train and everything like that.
And so when you're sort of so invested in these characters you build and things like that, what's it like when you have to put someone over? Because I'd almost feel like there's sort of that very blurred line of wrestling, isn't there? There's I'm my character and I'm me, but it kind of crosses over so much. So it feels like wrestlers get very invested in, right, I'm losing this week, I'm winning this week, I've got to put people over. How does that feel when you have to lose? Or is it just part of the game and that's it? You just accept that?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I haven't won any of my matches at all. So I've always put people over. And I feel like there's always a learning curve to that. But at the end of the day, it's part of the business. You're always going to take losses. And sometimes you can take losses for up to like 2-3 years or whatever that you've been doing it. But always think you're playing a character. Yeah, you might feel beaten up about it sometimes, but at the same time, you think, no, I'm going to train to do better. I'm going to train and show them that I can win. I can do this. I can do that. It can eat you up inside a little bit, but at the same time, it hasn't done that to me yet. So I'm kind of grateful that I'm just stepping into the ring and doing what I do best.
Well, definitely, I think it takes a real skilled wrestler to lose. In all honesty, you know, it takes a lot of effort to put someone over, make sure they look good. You know, that's kind of a wrestler's job in a sense as well. So I think it's great that you're able to do that and do it so well. Do you have any sort of upcoming events or anything like that you can tell our audience about?
So right now we actually are doing it. They're doing their main show, which is APW Anniversary 5. So it's been 5 years since they've come together and started doing this. There's also going to be a show I think in a couple of weeks, Breakout 30. So they've done 30 shows of this Breakout division, which is basically like their up and coming shows, where I'm usually part of, like, up and coming wrestlers and stuff, which I'm usually part of that.
Okay, brilliant. Well, what we'll do, we'll put that in the description. So if anyone wants to buy any tickets, you're around in Melbourne, make sure you go and support them. I've noticed as well that you get involved in intergender matches, which I find really interesting because sort of in mainstream wrestling, we don't often see that kind of thing. When we do, it's kind of mixed gender tag matches, and you know the males and females don't really touch each other, which doesn't seem necessary. You know, it feels like you can do intergender matches quite well. What sort of your feelings on those, and would you be interested in doing more in the future?
I actually love them because I feel that females can do what males can do. I feel like that sometimes even better, to be honest, sometimes even better. So having that time of actually going through and doing those matches, I like to see more of them.
It's interesting to see new matches like that, things that you can't necessarily see in mainstream wrestling, because I feel that's kind of the whole point of these indie promotions, is that they can offer something different that these mainstream ones can't. And just sort of, what's next for you as a wrestler? Where do you see yourself as a professional wrestler? Where do you want to move up to? What do you think's next for you?
My main goal is to end up getting the heavyweight title, whether it is in APW or whether it is for another company, or even tag team titles. If anyone wants to tag, I'm all for it. I just would like to just grow and grow and grow and get better each time. The ultimate goal is to always go for them titles and to win those titles. So,
and sort of talking about the future of wrestling, what do you sort of feel about the current product of mainstream wrestling, like WWE and AEW and New Japan? Because it feels like I don't want to get too into controversies of Vince McMahon and things like that, but it really does feel like there is a new wave of wrestling coming through. Like, I've actually been watching wrestling on TV, you know, which I haven't done for years. You know, so sort of where do you feel about that, and what do you think of the current products?
I think it's actually fantastic with the fact that, like, with WWE shifting in power, all this other stuff happening in WWE, it's like it feels like it's a brand new product. It doesn't feel different. It feels different. It's like it doesn't feel the same constantly over and over again. Like they end up pushing the same guys constantly, where now it's like they've pushed all these like other guys. They've pushed all these newer guys or people that should have been pushed from the beginning, bringing back people that not necessarily that shouldn't have been shouldn't have been
Released in the first place.
like released. Yeah, exactly. Kind of like Killer or Karrion Kross and Dakota Kai and all those people, and then you've got the AEW side where they're doing fantastic work as it is, where you have people that probably you would never have seen return or come back to wrestling, like CM Punk, for instance. You wouldn't have thought in a million years that he was going to come back, and then he ends up coming back, and it's just like, holy crud.
That's the thing, it's so exciting, isn't it? You know, what I've been liking about it the most is that I care about the belts, because like the Intercontinental and the American title, the United States title, they felt almost nothing. They just sort of just got passed around to whatever mid-carders there, whereas now Triple H is really putting this forward, like, right, you know, these belts are important, you've got to win these, and it's just nice to actually care about these kind of belts and the matches, you know, and being invested. That's what I like about it the most.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it was like that. Like Vince didn't care about mid card or even cared about tag team, and then when Triple H took over, it was like, well, look, I was a tag team wrestler. I was like a mid card wrestler. Like that's the progression. It's like sometimes it's like tag team, then mid card, then the main title. So it's like that. It's like that should be the progression. Like that should be the thing.
Yeah, 100%.
But with Vince, it wasn't like that. And now with Triple H, it is like that. And it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's just great to be excited about wrestling again, isn't it? To be certainly mainstream wrestling, to be like, I'm looking forward to watching this. Well,
yeah, definitely.
I do think that's all we've got time for. Thank you, Ronin, for joining us today. I really, really do appreciate your time. Just remember, you'll be able to find Ronin down in the description below. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.